You're watching E.T.N. Entertainment-related new, entertainment-related discussion. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do another Godzilla video. And this one, it's not going to have anything to do with the movie, really. It was something I thought about quite some time ago. I've never really gotten a chance to do a video about it directly. And this one is, does Godzilla affect the opportunity for other companies or production companies, whatever, to come up with their own original Kaiju IP? And basically, in essence, what I'm saying is, when you consider Godzilla's clout, his design, and everything that involves the Titanic Kaiju that we all love, does that in some way affect negatively the creation or the potential to create other Kaiju? And I'm going to say yes, and this isn't a knock on Godzilla by far. In fact, it's a heavy compliment in many ways. One of the things we always talk about Kaiju fans is, outside of Godzilla, we always talk about other Kaiju that we like. You know what I mean? Because we all know that we have this love for Godzilla, this infatuation for him that goes without saying. So sometimes we kind of feel the need to bring up some other Kaiju that we like, just to make sure that everybody's aware that it's not all about Godzilla. And it's not. Godzilla would probably be nothing without the great supporting monsters that have surrounded him throughout the years. But when it comes to making new monsters, maybe for even the modern age, is it hard to come up with a design without directly having it being compared to Godzilla himself? And I say yes. I say yes, it is. I think every monster that you could possibly create, whether that monster exists now or whether somebody might be working on one, will always directly be compared to Godzilla, because Godzilla right now, and pretty much forever, will be the standard for the Kaiju genre. A genre that's very niche, and a genre that pretty much revolves around him throughout the last 50 years. So, and I thought about this because, we've had attempts at new monsters coming out. Cloverfield being a big one. Even Colossal has their own monster in it. And while that's a comedy and it's, an American thing, kind of mixed indie, it's still a monster nonetheless. And but when we sit there, we're always going to have Godzilla in the subconscious. When you watch a monster movie, Godzilla's the first thing that pops in your head, because he's had so many movies. As you guys know, I've called him the James Bond of Kaiju, which more or less is what he is. And, even when you think back to the 98 debacle, Gino, even now, a lot of us say, that movie in and of itself is not bad. You just can't call it Godzilla. But when you really think about it, if, let's say that movie did come out, right? Let's say it came out and it was not called Godzilla. Let's say it was called a Giant Iguana on the Loose or some crazy dumb shit like that. We would still compare it to Godzilla. We probably wouldn't hate it as much because it's not trying to take over the mantle or the title of Godzilla. Again, we're assumption now if it never had that title. But we would still subconsciously compare it, especially because of its design. Designing a new Kaiju is very, very hard because there's so many great designs that have come out of Japan over the years that even designing an original Kaiju is not necessarily easy. You make any Kaiju that's upright and might even remotely resemble the two arms, two legs, tail style that Godzilla is, or even that of a T-Rex, he's going to get compared to Godzilla, The more you distance yourself from a design that's very similar to Godzilla, the more the question starts to arise as whether the monster movie in and of itself can be compared to some of the Godzilla classics. So it doesn't really matter which end of the spectrum you favor. If you make a new Kaiju that has similar features in Godzilla, you're going to get compared to Godzilla's actual look and design. Whereas if you go with a Kaiju movie that has a distinct design that is away from Godzilla's design, then you're going to compare the movie, the theme, the surrounding, anything involved in that movie, you're going to compare it to a Godzilla classic. So this does make it very, very difficult to come up with an original monster movie. And this is something that we have spoken about throughout the years. Many fans as to why new kaiju movies aren't created. You know, we always ask this, why don't they come up with new kaiju movies? Why can't we have the genre extend out? And I don't think it's a matter of the fact that you can't. And I'm sure there have been plenty of people out there in Hollywood, or maybe even beyond Hollywood, that have come up with their own ideas for a monster movie. The problem is it original enough to distinct itself away from Godzilla? And then on top of that, can it be as successful? If you succeed in making a monster movie where the monster looks nothing similar to Godzilla, and the story might even be very good, then you run into the trouble of, but is it better, or can it equal the classic Godzilla movies? So that's three things that make it very, very hard for anybody to create their own kaiju. And I think that's one of the reasons why you don't see many new kaiju these days. Even when Cloverfield first came out, many people criticized the design of the monster. It wasn't until much later that people started gaining an affinity for the Cloverfield monster because the story was really good. The lore behind the movie was so good that people wanted to see more. And then finally we got to see some more, and well, it really hasn't panned out. So I think that's and I thought it was a very interesting thing to think about because, you know, we see how much Godzilla is. He's had a certain level of relevance throughout the years. It spiked on some occasions, and on some occasions it was very low. But he has always been the go-to monster, not only for Japan, but even for America. America has gone to the well for Godzilla many times. I mean, even before they tried to make their own Godzilla, America was bringing in Godzilla from overseas plenty of times throughout the 60s and 70s, you know, because he was such a household name and a lot of people like that kind of stuff. And then throughout the years, and once we got into the late 90s, you know, we had our first attempt at doing it. We did horrible. And then finally, you know, from 2000, almost 2006, 2007, up until 2014, the release of the Godzilla movie, Godzilla was in America again, being worked on, being discussed, going through a different storylines and scripts and all that. So, you know, it's kind of unfortunate in one sense because, yeah, it would be nice to get a new kaiju to come out there and really, really tackle the scenes. But when you have something as successful as Godzilla, and the fact that you can pretty much have him for eternity, I mean, you know, we don't know what's going to happen after Godzilla vs. Kong, whether we'll get more movies again or not. But I can guarantee one thing. Even if Godzilla vs. Kong is the last movie within this monster universe, it would not surprise me if 10 to 20 years later, we get another stab at doing a Godzilla movie here in the States. That'll start another short series that we can all love and enjoy. And it'll just keep on like that. I think the most important thing is keep the kaiju genre relevant altogether. And, you know, outside of Godzilla, we do have some fantastic monsters in the Toho Rogues Gallery, so to speak. And we're going to see some of those monsters next year in Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. And hopefully a lot of general audiences take a liking to these monsters. But yeah, I think making an original kaiju monster is definitely very difficult. It doesn't matter whether it's coming from Japan. It doesn't matter if it's coming from the United States or any other country that wants to try and make their own monster mark on the, you know, in cinema. So, and again, that's a huge compliment to Godzilla. It's not a knock on him. It just means that there can only be one. You know what I mean? I think there was an opportunity for Cloverfield to make a mark. I think they just waited too long. And then when they finally decided to pull the trigger on doing more of that content, it was just executed very poorly. So there are going to be those instances where there may be an opportunity for any production company or cinema company to make a monster that might just be a hit, but it's as to whether they can execute it well, because there's a small opportunity to do one, and then there's a small window of opportunity for success. I think Cloverfield came the closest in the last 10, 15 years. I just think they dropped the ball. They waited too long. But who knows? Who knows? There may be a time where someone steps up and makes an original monster that has a design that can separate themselves from Godzilla, has a story that can separate themselves from some of the better stories of Godzilla, and then have an impact on audiences to the point where they really, really enjoy watching this monster on screen. And then who knows? Maybe we'll have a passing of the torch. But until then, they call him the king of the monsters for a reason, and I think he'll remain so. And because of his own presence, his own impact on culture and sci-fi, in particular the kaiju genre, I don't see the king being kicked off his turf or kicked off the perch or taken down from the mountain anytime soon. So what do you guys think? Do you think there can ever be an opportunity for another kaiju IP to be developed that can stand apart from Godzilla, stand alone, and have as much success? Or do you think that Godzilla has been so ingrained in society through the last 50 years that it'll be very hard for anyone to come close to the popularity that Godzilla has across the world? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Until next video, this is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Click here to watch more content. Or you can click here to become an E.T.N patron. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like and share this video. If you want to know when the next video is up, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And most of all, make sure to click that subscribe button for regular content.